Okay, it's time for another of these low-effort videos. While my CNC review is cooking in the basement and unsurprisingly taking longer than expected, let's keep working on this 3D printer. After the last video, I really felt like printing something bigger on this printer for the first time, so I did this simple organizer tray, which, despite a bunch of stringing, turned out pretty promising. So I finally tried to tune linear advance, but the results I got were disappointing. It's really hard to tell which value even looks the best with all using. For the record, I'm fully aware that my super cheap GE Tech and King Rune filaments are prone to stringing, which only exacerbates this issue. So I was purposely using the only spool of better quality filament I currently have for the tuning. And afterwards, trying a calibration cube, my result again took a turn for the worse. Very uneven extrusion, holes at the corners, all things I foolishly hoped linear advance would fix for good. In hindsight, it's not surprising. The 28BYJ-48 extruder on there is like perpetually on the verge of skipping steps because it doesn't have quite enough torque. So with a higher quality filament, which is more viscous so as not to ooze as much, under extrusion should really be expected. Anyway, moral of the story is, I'm still convinced the extruder is to blame for 95% of the bad print quality I'm getting. The linear motion system is totally fine after the rescrew upgrades, yet my prints still don't look as clean and crisp as they would if I were to print them on my off-the-shelf printer at the same 25mm a second. And because for better or for worse, I need to print Voron stealth burner parts on this thing, which will be quite an achievement in its own right, today's goal is to stick a decent extruder on this printer to just see how much of an improvement that little upgrade would entail. And the extruder I'm going to use for this is a Bondtech LGX Lite, which was very generously sent by patron Jobo. Of course, having a fancy extruder on a printer this janky borders on sacrilege, so if this works out, don't worry, I'm definitely going to make a more appropriate DIY extruder for it using another e-waste stepper. For now, the first step will be taking off the old extruder again to measure where all the existing mounting holes are so I can cat up a suitable bracket to mount the LGX with. Yeah, it's been a while since I last dried that red filament. At least I think that's where all these gaps are coming from. Anyway, let me just drill out these screw holes to get rid of the stringing and we can see if it fits. Okay, very nice, that'll do. Unfortunately, due to my unipolar this, unipolar that, unipolar everything shenanigans on this printer, plugging this bipolar extruder into the controller is not actually as straightforward as I like. I'll have to break out the step and direction signals and feed them to a separate A498 on like a satellite board, because there is simply no spare separate motor driver slot available on this shield. To clarify, there are facilities for 3 more bipolar drivers on the PCB because it's basically just a RAMS clone, and I wanted to leave possibilities open in case I might change stuff in the future, but I didn't solder any header sockets to those footprints. If this works out and I do end up making a better bipolar extruder for this printer, I can belatedly solder in some sockets no problem. It's just for this experiment, I don't want to change things too much. Okay, I think it's time for the moment of truth. Everything should be fully wired up. I hooked it up to the 24-volt auxiliary output since of all the power supplies running this printer, I think I have some headroom left on that one still. If memory serves, the drive motors are only running at like 150 milliamps each, and the PSU does 800 or something like that. Of course, after adding active cooling to these motors, I could have substantially increased the current and maybe gotten higher speeds, which I might end up doing still, but for now it's good, because I still have half an amp left for this chunky NEMA 14. And I have to admit, using a well-documented off-the-shelf extruder has its merits, because I just have to copy and paste the E-step value from their website right into my EEPROM config and don't need to do any tuning. I should also be able to increase my feed rate and retractions tenfold. Needless to say, I would be quite disappointed if this doesn't significantly increase print quality. As for something to print, let's try one of these generic printer torture tests, which I haven't ever dared to try so far. I have to stick to a small one though, if I don't want to let myself in for a 10-hour print. For the filament, I'm obviously going to use the higher quality stuff. Also, because of the extruder torque issue, I haven't been able to print PETG on this printer yet, so that'll be another thing to try out once we get this figured out. Okay, little sanity check of my E-steps here. Got 10mm marked off. Let's try extruding 10. And yep, that looks like 10mm to me. Yikes, that's a 2.5-hour print right there. Also, by the way, there's a great preview button. You click travel moves, and it does a perfect preview of what the part will look like after printing on this printer, including string and all. Okay, here goes nothing. It's still dragging a trail of filament along. Yeah, I somehow doubt the stringing can ever really be fixed on this printer with travel moves this slow. Okay, the first layer is just finishing up, and even though it's way too early to draw any concrete conclusions, this looks far better than what I got before. The bit is a little bit too close over there, but these corners, they look much more crisp than what I got with the other extruder. Now I just need patience. In a couple of hours we're gonna see the results, for better or for worse. In the meantime, I'll get some dinner. Uh-oh, something went horribly wrong. The printer literally stopped moving, and I'm smelling burnt electronics. I'm fearing my 24-volt PSU is cooked. So yeah, that didn't last very long. I think I did overtax it a little bit with the current. Because here on the computer it's still pretending to print alright, but it just doesn't print. Well, great news, let's stop that print. Oops. Well, that I did not expect. It lasted about an hour actually, and I wasn't there when it happened, so I don't know when exactly it did, but it just stopped printing. Great. Let's at least take a look at the result. I mean, it is a lot cleaner. All the corners are caved in, and I'm pretty confident that is due to my linear advance value being way too high for that specific extruder, because I was running 0.3 earlier and I didn't change it with the extruder, so 0.3 is a lot for a decent direct drive. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that is the case, especially because you can see it on this corner here. There's a lot of gaps from linear advance, but even though this is not much to go from, it looks a lot better. Big improvement. Yeah, Paris by smells pretty burnt indeed. Fortunately, I already repaired it once. Might as well repair it a second time. It used to be e-waste after all, which probably means it should not come as too much of a surprise that it died now. Yeah, but it should be pretty straightforward. Unless something more important got cooked this time around, it should be pretty easy. I guess I should unplug it so it doesn't catch on fire though. Okay, let's take a look at the carnage. I'm immediately seeing a big bulge in the plastic casing here, which is definitely not a good sign. It means one component severely overheated, and I'm really hoping it's something simple to repair, so let me try and crack the super glue I put it back together with after repairing it the first time around. Yeah, things really went wrong there. And yeah, the part that melted the case definitely was the diode, and as you can see, this is the diode I repaired the first time around. So it'll be interesting whether this diode is dead now. Yep, short circuit. Okay, so it's the same diode again. At least it'll be an easy repair. So let me just repair that and I'll have it back up running in no time.
A few moments later.
Okay, this is bad news. Aside from the diode, the main switching MOSFET seems to be blown too. Gate is shorted to source. Of course, there might have been some underlying condition the entire time, because a 0.8 amp power supply killing a 3 amp diode on the secondary side, not once, but twice, seems sort of unlikely. At the very least, this was a weak point in the design. At the end of the day though, it really doesn't matter, because I don't seem to have suitable replacement parts at hand at the moment, which means fixing this is pretty much out of the picture. Which is a shame really, because this is a rather well-built PSU. Unfortunately, this means I need to resort to even more sacrilege if I actually want to finish this experiment, because 24-volt power supplies are sort of rare in general consumer electronics e-waste, so this is actually the only one I had. What I do have though is this 24-volt 150-watt LED lighting PSU, which I bought for very cheap on AliExpress last year. It's really bad quality, you can tell even just from the way the circuit board looks. Very haphazard design, definitely a safety hazard. I absolutely cannot recommend ever buying it, but it didn't explode, yet. And it also didn't manage to electrocute me, so let's hook this one up instead. We certainly have a lot more headroom in terms of current capability on this one. Okay, very lazy repair, I have to admit. Let's see if it goes bang. So far it doesn't, which is a good sign. And the motors are fully up and running again. Great. You know what? This is genuinely insane. Now I actually regret not having printed the exact same thing with the old extruder first, just to have a decent before and after to show you, because these letters actually being legible would not have been possible with the 28BYJ. And let's not even talk about these little pyramid shapes actually being pointy. Yes, there is a lot of oozing still present, but I'm starting to think that may just not be possible to ever truly fix on this printer due to travel moves being inherently slow with the lead screws, so it might be something I just have to live with. But overall, I mean, this is still orders of magnitude better than before. So I guess we basically have our answer. Just swapping out the extruder is going to have a big positive impact on my print quality. However, it's not quite the all-encompassing conclusion I was looking for, so let's print another calibration cube to compare to the ones I showed you in the beginning, because those looked verifiably crap. Well, that is what a calibration cube should look like. Linear advance is still a bit high. I already turned it down to 0.2, but that's obviously still too much. Anyway, now that we can have an actual apples to apples comparison, here is the new cube and this is the old one. Definitely a big improvement. That is, until I remind myself that this was actually a particularly bad example from this printer due to the extruder skipping steps with a more viscous filament. For reference, here is another calibration cube from ages ago using the 28BYJ extruder and lower quality filament, and as you can see, it has none of the extrusion issues I've been dealing with recently. In fact, if I put it side by side with this newest cube, you'd be hard pressed to tell that the yellow one was printed with a stepper motor costing 50 cents, and the other one with an extruder more expensive than the entire printer. So I guess maybe I was being a little overexcited earlier, and this printer test wouldn't have turned out entirely terrible with the crappy extruder after all. The only verifiable improvement is actually just extrusion consistency itself. Like, the surface quality is just that little bit rough with the 28BYJ extruder, whereas the layer stacking is visibly improved with the fancy one. But even that, to me, is worth replacing the extruder, so I think that's an upgrade you can look forward to. As long as I stick to the extreme DIY and e-waste theme of this project, I see no real harm in it. This weird setup here, though, is definitely going to be taken off again, don't worry. So I think that's about it. I hope you enjoyed Benjamin's late night printing misadventures part 2, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.